Good afternoon, everybody. This is Michelle Ashburner, and we're doing a podcast on the new algorithm that is taking the world by storm. It's the science and art of Orgtology, which is the new business management tool that is going to see businesses, according to the paper that Brightwell wrote. It's creating the balance between running a business and changing the business for sustained success. We have with us here today Brightwell Nkambule. And Brightwell has been a student of Orgtology for some time now and has worked with the founder of Orgtology, Derek Hendricks, for a while. But I think let me hand over to Brightwell and he can introduce himself, and I'll ask him some questions about his experience and what has been so great about Orgtology for him in his career. So welcome to the podcast, Brightwell. We're very pleased to have you with us today. I read your paper, as the title of which I just read, but would you like to introduce yourself to our audience? Who are you? Where have you come from? What is your business experience? And where are you currently in the world?
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michelle, and hello to everyone watching this session. My name is Brightwell Nkambule. Yes, I'm in the beautiful kingdom of Eswatini, neighboring South Africa, and a little bit of Mozambique. I currently work for the Eswatini Revenue Authority. We're responsible for the collection of taxes as well as management of customs as an organization. But as a person, I have many years of experience in IT. I studied IT and later I studied the leadership course at UNISA, School of Business Leadership in Midrand, very many years ago. Interestingly, at that time, we kind of forecasted that over time, business processes, project management, it will be taking the world by storm. So in my last year of electives, I did project management. I also did business process re-engineering and advanced finance. And little did I know that 20 years down the line, I would end up focusing a lot of my attention on these two areas. So my background is IT, but I've also done a lot of work in business process management as well as project management. I'm also a part-time consultant for the International Monetary Fund, and I've done a lot of work in West Africa, the English-speaking countries in West Africa. And of late, I've done some work in the Seychelles and Zimbabwe.
First of all, Brightwell, let's talk about how your road to Orgtology came about.
Okay, interestingly enough, for me, as I said earlier, I studied project management in my last year of university, of the Master of Business Leadership. And then I was recruited to be a project manager for the local telecom service provider. We're rolling out a massive network. I think at the time it was up to 400 million rands.
Sure.
I was a project manager. Yeah,
So
it was massive countrywide. It was a countrywide transformation of the network. So I was in project management. And then when the Revenue Authority started back in 2011, I was recruited to come and run IT. But because I had been running such a big project, I then recommended to my organization that let's adopt project management to run the transformation program, because the Revenue Authority had just transitioned from being a department under government to being a semi-autonomous organization. So I proposed that let's run our transformation as projects. The Commissioner General was very impressed because with projects, there's a lot of certainty in the execution of the transformation.
Yes.
Now, over time, we also realized that we have to formalize. So now the project was for running our transformation, right? we then agreed that, look, let's also bring in some order in our operations. So we went through a procurement process and we contracted Deloitte from South Africa to help us with developing business processes. So they mapped the process. So you can see now that already in 2013, we had projects for the transformation and we had processes for our operations. And then round about 2014, we contracted another company for change management now. This was meant to assist us appreciate, how to manage our people as we transition and as we pick up the pace of the transformation. So already the three pillars were in place for winning hearts and minds in the change management program, project management for accelerated transformation, and then business process management for running operations. But still, the structure of our strategic plan was muddy. It was a combination of, in the strategic plan itself, we'll have a combination of day-to-day activities as well as transformation in activities. So we then came across Derek, who's the author of the Orgtology concept in 2016. Already we were, running the business and changing the business. So when he came in, he made it very easy now to translate, our method of running our business into process construct, and then, project construct, relationship construct, overlaid very nicely in the strategic plan. So the strategic plan, actually, you can reduce it right now, and I've been saying this, you can reduce your strategic plan to one page and tell the whole story, because you will have your objectives, which is where you want to, you'll have the 5 visions, which is basically the ladders to your ultimate visions. You would have it there, and you just need, even one sentence, you can state that my ultimate vision is this, that is your V1, and then the ladder, your V2, V3, V4, and V5, okay? And then 2, your V4 is what you aim at, for your strategic period. So you put that in one statement, that this is my V4 goal, right? And then the initiatives, the interventions that you want to pursue to transform your organizations. In strategic objectives, you can also list it in a couple of lines, 4 or 5 lines. Now, the key strength of this process, of this approach, is that you don't need to replicate activities that are in business processes in your strategic plan.
That already automatically is a new line of thinking, because your strategic plan is just an offshoot traditionally of a business plan, which then actually encompasses all the plans, which is this laboriously thick document that nobody really refers to afterward.
Exactly. Your day-to-day activities will be contained in your business processes, right? Now, in your strategic plan, you are going to highlight the change program, the transformation program, okay? So you'll basically be saying, these are my objectives, and then these are the major projects within each of the programs. And you don't need to articulate the detailed activities of the projects, because that's going to be in project plans, right?
Yes, right.
So one page.
Impressive. Okay,
page.
so you adopted this in 2016, and we're now in 2021. And how is Eswatini doing?
The process itself of rearranging, because remember earlier back in 2013, 14, we designed our business processes from the basis of departments. So, we did look at the value chain at the highest level, but then started looking at the value chain as it applies to various departments, and then teased out the processes and the standard operating procedures. But now, with the Orgtology approach, we have to look at the mission. So we look at the mission.
Which is purpose in terms of Orgtology's.
Purpose, yes, purpose. We look at the purpose, and actually the nice starting point is to ask yourself, if one person were to run and deliver on this purpose, what would they do? You know, then we tease out what we then call systems. We tease out the key components of the processes. We tease them out, which could be, you know, four or five. And what are they? This is the other interesting part, because they're pretty much standard from organization to organization. One, you have to have a relationship with your stakeholders. Yes. So just about every organization will have that system, which is the relationship system. And then two, there's the core system, what that organization is about. If it's a revenue administration, then that's core. If you are a bank, it's banking operations. If you are a sugar miller, then that's what it is. So that's core. That's the second one. Then the third one, you then ask yourself, now I have my relationship system that will keep me in touch both internally and externally with my stakeholders, and I deliver on the core. I need resources, right, to power my activities. So then you need the resources system. That's the third one. And then the fourth one is intelligence, right? Now, I want my system to have self-intelligence as far as possible, to operate that like the human body. Because with the human body, you have the various systems inside, and they have a self-monitoring mechanism. If your heart beats too fast, and then the brain will then begin to say, okay, there's something wrong here. So the system is looking after itself, right? And that to me is an equivalent of your process construct. Now, as a human being, you have ambitions, which is outside of this system. What could be your ambitions? You know, now we're approaching the Olympics. Some people want to win Olympic gold medals. Some people are pursuing six-pack. Some people want to be thin. Some people want, you know, now that's outside of the body. That is what is represented by the vision. And you use projects to attain that.
Which
and
in
the other part
speak is the intent.
It's the intent.
Okay.
Yes, that's the intent. So now the point I was making is, when we transitioned to the Orgtology approach in 2016, we had to redo our business processes. You know, so that kind of has taken a bit of time to redo our business processes and then revise our standard operating procedures. Where's the advantage? A very good example is on asset management. Finance would have an asset register, right, with all the assets of the organization. And then the transport department will also have an asset register with the cars. The IT department would also have an asset register with the computers and the laptops, etc. Now, under the old system, you would find the processes for managing these assets are not the same.
Yes.
You know, and yet, from the perspective of the organization, these are just assets in the balance sheet. They have to be managed almost at the high level. They're managed in exactly the same. You acquire the asset, you utilize the assets for its life, and then you dispose the asset, right? When you dispose the asset, you update your asset register that this asset is out.
So, Brightwell, what you're saying to me is that your business intelligence, in fact, is independent according to your processes, but it's systemic, because it all feeds into the.
All fits together. Yes.
Okay.
So it's all fits together. So it's like you have your system that is cycling here, delivering value to your customers, right?
Yeah.
Now you have the business system, the intelligence that are continuously monitoring, like an onboard computer in a motor vehicle.
Okay.
So the onboard computer is continuously monitoring. You know, when the outputs of the components have exceeded thresholds, it will start ringing bells that there's a problem there. There's a problem there. So in organization, we allow the organization to run itself. To run itself, meaning the processes, the resources, your people will run the organization. And then management will be focusing on intent. They'll be focusing on the medium to long term.
That's where true leadership now actually comes in, and not management. because the system is managing itself. So now leadership actually can focus on sustainability and long-term value.
Yes.
Okay. So that's really what Orgtology is bringing to the party, is freeing up all of those things to be able to run efficiently, circuitously, and at the same time actually take the brain tank, so to speak, and free them up. Instead of being bogged down by the minutiae of operations, they can now actually be outward focused. Yes.
All right. And in my article, I'm talking about, in my article, I've got two curves. If you look at the article at some point, I've got two curves.
Yeah.
So I've got the one curve, I've got a blue curve that is going up. It's a sigmoid. It's the concept of the sigmoid curve. Okay. I've got the curve that is going up, the blue curve, right? And then I've got a red curve that is picking up at some point and going up. So here is the story behind.
There's an overlap between them which you label as decline.
Yes. Okay. Now here is the story behind the curves. Okay. So with your permission, can I put notes on the screen?
Yes, of course.
Or we just talk?
No, of course.
Okay. So I'm just going to put it through. I'll bring it into the screen so as to easily illustrate what I'm talking about. So I've got my two curves, and the message is here. If you look at each of the curves, let's say the blue curve, I'll show you just now. So if you look at the blue curve, the blue curve is going up. Okay, it's going up, and at some point it's going to taper down.
Yes.
And what's the message there? The message is what goes up will come down, but as it is going up, it is my processes that are looking after that upward trajectory.
So in other words, and I noticed just before your bell jar, your processes actually comes in a time before the decline starts to set in, and actually takes over and actually starts a new pickup.
Okay, so let's look at it this way. I've designed my process construct with the self-monitoring mechanism, right? And then, so my company is running on the blue curve, and the process construct is looking after day-to-day operations as well as continuous improvement, because that's also very important.
Okay.
So my process construct is running day-to-day activities, and it is also continuously improving the efficiency in the system. So in terms of success, my organization or product will be going up the curve. Now, as it is going up the curve, this is where now the leadership comes in. So the leadership will be monitoring my organization as it is climbing up the curves, waiting for the right time to jump into curve B.
Okay.
Because what happens if we stay in curve A? What goes up will come down. What goes up will eventually come down. So now I want to catch curve B before I'm on the decline, because again, once decline sets in, it's very difficult to jump into another curve.
So your curve B illustrates things like product innovation, process innovation, all those kind of innovative, future thinking processes that actually then keep a company sustainable and successful.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, good. Yeah. So here's the question I wanted to ask you earlier, and I wrote it down. Once you go the Orgtology route, Brightwell, how difficult would it be to turn back or change path?
It would be very difficult. It's once you become aware of it, it becomes very difficult to not like it.
Okay. Explain what you mean by
that. And there are very many examples. This is the one that I want to use.
Okay.
You see, this is a mobile handset. This has not always been there. You know, for the old guys like me, when we started, we had landlines. You'd go to the telephone booth and make your call there. And I remember very clearly when these things came, I was working in the law field in Swaziland, and I was on my second year of work. And I was like, what? This thing, I have to carry it all the time? No, there's no need. But there's a phone in the office, there's a phone in the house. I'm not going to take this because it's going to be cumbersome to be carrying it. Okay, but fast forward, today, I have two.
And the convenience of it is just amazing.
The convenience, this is a computer now, okay? This is a computer, and it's a computer, it's a diary, I also have, this fitness tracker thing. So it's collecting information here and it is being recorded there. So this is my personal assistant. By the way, I don't have a secretary anymore because it's all in here. So I'm using this as the analogy. Once you become aware of the Orgtology concept, it will be very difficult to want to undo that and go back. It will be like going back in time. Okay. Because it simplifies, first of all, it simplifies your work. You get to understand very clearly that my organization will be run by the process construct, while me as the leader, I'm preoccupied with the future. Because that's what we want. The leader should be in the future. I should be worried about, right now, I should be worried about the threats that are coming down with the Fourth Industrial Revolution, 1. 2, I should be excited by the opportunities that come with the Fourth Industrial Revolution. But I cannot even have the time to be thinking about the threats and the opportunities if I'm trapped in day-to-day activities.
Brightwell, in terms of small business, because now we're talking about an organization like yours, which I'm assuming is medium to large size enterprise. But if we talk about Orgtology and small business, and you're now applying Orgtology as a science and an art to that small business, how will that translate in terms of your sustainability model? From your perspective, can Orgtology work for this SME?
Now, when I go to overlay this for a small business, one, you have to understand that your business has to be efficient. One, you have to deliver on your value proposition, and you need to have consistency in your results, in your value proposition, right? You have to deliver on your value proposition. So that means you need to develop a system that will consistently deliver on that value proposition. Let me make an example. Let's say you're running a podcast, okay? You will make a pledge to your customers, right? Now, if you don't have a system for delivering on that service, you are going to be inconsistent. The one day you will deliver on time, the next day, even the quality will start being jumbled up. And then over time, you lose your client base. So whether big or small, your process construct will help with delivering consistently, because we say that which is in your control must give you predictable results. You must be able to predict those results for what is within your control, right? So as a small business, it will help you. You will understand that you need to be organized in delivering on the value proposition. You'll understand that you need to have relationships. You need to understand that you have to be efficient. If you're not efficient over time, you'll run out of resources to drive your business. Also, you have to understand that you need that intelligent system. You need to have an eye on the effectiveness of your systems internally and also relevance with your environment. Okay? So those dimensions will be there. Very critical. Lastly, the other one is that you need to dream. This is where the intent comes from. You need to dream, you need to look forward. So whether you are a small organization or a big organization or even an individual, if you look at it very closely, This Orgtology concepts apply.
With regards to those constructs that have been around for quite some time, how is Orgtology different from those? Because I mean, when we look at the languaging around Orgtology and the languaging around those management concepts and so forth and so on, there seems to be an overlap. So it's not as though Orgtology is replacing anything, it's supplementing and making better. Is that assumption correct?
Yes, it is correct. In our traditional organizations, people are placed in departments, right? You are placed in departments and you do your work under the umbrella of the department. Now, Orgtology focuses your attention on work.
Okay.
And the two are not the same. The one is a department where, you know, you would get your employees placing their allegiance you know, to departments. Orgtology talks about work. So you rearrange your resources to deliver on the work. So if there's no work, there's minimal usage of resources. But the traditional method is to deploy resources to departments.
Okay.
So your loyalty will then be to the department in the traditional method. Okay. And yet we want loyalty to be on the mission of the organization, which translates to work. So we want to deploy resources according to the needs of the activities that have to be done by that organization. The Orgtology concept promotes an effective balance between order and chaos. Yeah, it says if you just maintain order,
that one cannot exist without the other.
Yes, if you continuously maintain order, if you look at my graph, you know, my two graphs, if you continuously do what you've always done, you are going to consistently, over time, you'll consistently improve on it, right? Because you know it.
Yes.
You'll consistently improve, bring a lot of efficiencies to it, to your organization, because there's order. But the problem is that over time, that product that you're delivering on the market will become irrelevant. So, which means
success in the short term, but you can never expand your business.
No, because you need the chaos. Where does the chaos come from? The chaos comes from change.
Can the human resources in a business that is now actually going through an Orgtology transformation be excited about the fact of the transformation?
Well, in the immediate term, in the short term, they will not be excited because of change.
Yes, well, change management, yeah.
Change causes pain.
Yes.
Change causes pain. Change brings uncertainty. But in the medium to long term, they would be excited. You know why? Because one, we have to understand that as an employee of the organization, my connection with my organization is the skill that I'm bringing to the organization. So I will not be worried because I am bringing in something that the organization needs. But now, if my organizations will decide that, look, I want to apply just-in-time principle, meaning they will be buying my hours as and when they need them. So initially, because let me tell you, we've seen this, there are very few organizations that need 100% of their hours from their employees. Most organizations are buying 100 hours, but they actually utilize 65 yes. hours. The other 35 hours, it's comfort, it's security, knowing that I'm going to get my paycheck at the end of the month, yes. right? So this is what will cause the discomfort. But now over time, you will realize that one, you have an incentive to broaden your skills, okay? To broaden your skills, because organization will not be paying for all 100%, they'll be paying for what they need. But because the world has become flat, then it became round, but it's flat again now. Because the world has become flat again, it means you have now the entire world as possible buyers of your hours, right? So I'm going to give the 65% of my time to employee A in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and then I'm going to give 10% of my time to an employer in Zambia, maybe another 10% in the UK, another 10% in Brazil. So at the end of the year, sorry, at the end of the month, I'm able to sell all 100% of my working hours because the world has become flat. The way that I see it, because the world has become flat again, I would encourage us employees to be thinking about selling our hours on a pay-as-you-go basis and look wider than our countries, look wider than our organization for demand for our hours. This also gives us the incentive, right, to learn skills that are out there and are in demand in the market.
While that transformation in the short term would create possible job losses, it also on the swing and in the true form of Orgtology creates the balance of actually creating more productivity if the person so desires by upskilling themselves.
Yeah, the new world order. Many years ago, there were dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And then the environment changed, the ecosystem changed, the dinosaurs couldn't survive. And today there are no dinosaurs.
Yes.
So there's going to be what economists call a correction. There will be a correction over, there'll be a correction over the next couple of years. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I think that correction has already started with the advent of COVID and various other things.
Yeah.
And I think that COVID has just hastened on what was going to be happening. It's just moved the timeline right up.
Yeah.
And as business people and people trying to make our way in the world with regards to business, let's talk about the education process that you went through to actually get to this point of being able to actually say, Brightwell is an orgtologist and he can help you with your processes and your constructs within your organization to set you up and create a balance that is created of both order and chaos to create sustainable success. What did you have to go through to get to that point?
Okay, so we ran weekly sessions with Derek Hendricks. He's divided the program into 3 parts. There's part 1, part 2, and we're about to get to part 3. So we would run weekly sessions, and then there would be discussions, and there would be the sharing of ideas, and then at the end of each of the modules, at the end of each modules, there's a working paper that you're expected to do, which is what I did. Which was the working paper was a combination of the material that I picked up from the sessions, as well as just what I've observed myself in the working environment. So we've right now stepped through 2 modules. We are preparing for for the 3rd module. So this Orgtology program is highly practical and very challenging. It challenges the mind, as well. So yeah, I would encourage people to step into it. I would encourage even business people to get into it, understand it, and it will help your business. Okay,
so what kind of person, in what kind of environment would you recommend Orgtology to as a program to supplement what they're doing?
Okay, definitely those that are in production. Very important. It helps you understand the concept of production. With your process construct, it will help bring order in your production line. Those that are in products, services, as well as in organizations, definitely the leadership. Leadership definitely has to come in. Executive teams have to come in and understand it. Entrepreneurs definitely have to come in and understand it.
Brightwell, thank you for your time. I know that you're a busy man and you've carved out a section of time for us to actually share your thoughts and your paper and your experiences with us. And it's been a real pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time. And we look forward to chatting to you again at another stage.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michelle. And thanks to everyone listening to this session. Let's go for it. This is the new world order. Thank you.
Thanks, Brightwell. Take care.